So I want to talk about how learning to let go of what I thought should be happening and trust what was happening in the moment was the key. And that everything I'm talking about kind of comes back to that. It's kind of the foundation of, I could build it up into a more complex practice or process, but if I look at what was at the heart of the recovery, that was really what it was all about, was letting go of what I thought should be happening and accepting and trusting that this right now is what needs to be happening. As this right now is what needs to be felt. Even if it's pure resistance, even if it's fear, even if it's frustration, even if it's confusion, disorientation, uncertainty, that's a part of it too. That's welcome. I remember one of the days I was starting to get this. And when I say get this, it was starting to click, but not intellectually. It's not something to, I suppose it is, and it's also, it's intellectual, and then it needs to go deeper. But one of the days this really resonated, then the confusion came up, and initially I was identified with the confusion of, oh no, specifically about like the deeper practices. There was two conflicting views of, should I be meditating a lot, or there's other viewpoints from certain non-dual meditation teachers that you don't need to practice, there's no one there's no self, there's no need to practice. And initially I started tearing me, like, this is kind of getting at the foundations of what I've been doing. I've been meditating, and now this message resonates and it says don't meditate, and then realizing that, oh my gosh, that's just confusion, or that's just uncertainty, and that's okay too. So that's just one initial example. That specific topic that I just mentioned of practice versus no practice is actually quite an important topic with the deeper aspects of meditation and awakening and non-duality. But it's not what I'm here to talk about now. Angela's got some good videos on that. If anybody does, if you're exploring that kind of stuff and you do find yourself in this confusion, I recommend Simply Always Awake, Angela's channel. He's got some good videos on that. And I think I'll make a video on that topic in the future, on my experience with that whole thing. But what I want to talk about here is the more that I learn to trust life, trust the moment, trust that I was experiencing what I needed to be experiencing, then everything just kind of settled and took care of itself. But it's really you got to find the middle path here. It's very easy to swing one way or the other with this. As I mentioned in my other videos, doing the work is crucial, because we can just say, I trust everything, and then you go out and you're doing things, and we're just going to fall back into the old habit patterns of the mind. So by doing the work, we can learn to trust what comes up. By sitting with what needs to be sat with, by feeling what is here and wants to be felt, we can experientially come to the understanding that it's safe to let go of what we want to be happening and trust what is happening. And this can take some time to accept, especially if this current situation is very uncomfortable, very difficult, a lot of intense stuff coming up. It might be hard to trust. You might think, how can I trust this illness, these symptoms? How can I trust that this is what I need to be feeling right now? And I guess that's why I'm sharing from my perspective. I learned to trust it from others sharing that. So, maybe it takes some time exploring teachers, and that's why I recommend Angelo's book. Because realizing fundamentally that you're not separate from life. There's just life. There's just, as I've said before, one doesn't even have to go completely spiritual to that, and there's nothing wrong with going spiritually here. But if that doesn't resonate with you, the initial starting point for me was from the realization, if I took this purely scientifically, that there's all these processes happening in my body that I'm not in control of. I don't choose to make my heart beat. I don't make my cells do all the things they're performing. I don't even know 99% of what's going on in my body. There's all of this that's just happening. Just the fact that I'm alive in this moment is a pure miracle. Or don't even have to use the word miracle, but I'm not making it happen. So I can just trust what is making the blood flow in my body and making my heart beat and my lungs breathe and my cells produce energy and all of that. It's like, can I get out of the way of those processes? Because when I was trying to use my thoughts and my mind to fix all of that, it was so stressful and it was so difficult. And again, that kind of needed to play out. I had to exhaust those options and see how all that stress was compounding the symptoms and was driving the whole thing. But you couldn't just tell me, oh, don't stress, man, because then I would try to do that. So yeah, that's why a lot of this you have to experience for yourself, but at the same time I want to it's easy to get stuck in certain places, so that's kind of what I want to help with. But just to go back to what I was talking about, if you can resonate with what I'm saying, in that you can trust this moment, you're not making your conscious experience happen. And if that brings up anger and frustration and this isn't fair, that's what needs to be felt right now. Can you welcome that? And I always the power of welcoming with compassion to whatever is in the present experience right now is such a game changer. It's okay, whatever's here, you can let it in. And if that, if that brings up fear, confusion, I can't do this, I don't know how to do this, let that in. That's okay. That's what needs to be felt right now. And then, so that's why I said, like, doing the work, that's doing the work, and the more we can do that, it compounds, and then maybe more stuff will come up, right? Once we stop resisting and opening up, we stop pushing more and more down, and making things worse. And it can be a relief at first, and then there's ups and downs, because all of that repressed stuff that we've been fighting for so long has to come to the surface to be released, to be let go of. So what that can play out as is, I was having such a good week. I was, practicing a lot and whatnot, and then those old resistance patterns, the old conditioning that we're not even aware of, how are we going to know what we need to release if it doesn't come to the surface? It's grace. It's a gift when those days happen, and if it doesn't feel like that, that's fine. But it's how it has to go, from my experience. I can't say for everyone, but from what I've learned from Angelo's and many other teachers, and my own experience, it's okay when that happens. It's part of it. It's part of the awakening process, or if you don't want to talk about awakening, the healing, recovering, but you're not trying to heal, you're just accepting what comes up. And when we can trust whatever is here, it's just such a relief. Just to give an example, I remember when I was quite late in my recovery, I kind of knew that I was going to be okay, and I was exercising, and stuff would still come up. I was building on my exercise, and then one day I did some intense exercise, like some high intensity stuff, and then I couldn't sleep that night, and my nervous system was so elevated and so much on edge that I couldn't sleep, and just being like, oh, like this is what needs to be happening right now. Like, in the past, I would be trying to force myself to go to sleep, like, oh, I need to be going to sleep, I need to be, if I don't get my good night's sleep, this is going to happen. And then eventually it was just like, no, like, even this is, if I don't sleep, I don't sleep, And then from there on, it kind of became okay for everything to play out how it needed to, and there's still ups and downs, and there's still days where I get lost in the thoughts and the contraction and the resistance, and then realizing that I need to put in more work and do more practice, but just a underlying trust the whole time that this is what I need to be seeing. But I still emphasize how key it is to do the work to see this. Like, I could have heard this much earlier on, but until I'd kind of given myself to facing what I needed to face and actually walking the path myself, that trust wasn't going to come there. Like, it's not just an intellectual thing that I could have heard the message. I mean, it does when I did hear certain messages from certain teachers, it did really resonate, and then, you know, a big relief. But then doing the work is so important. So yeah, just trust as much as you can. That as tough as this is, as tough as the symptoms are when they come up, that it's okay. This is what needs to be here right now. Can you accept it? Can you forgive yourself and accept the part of you that is afraid? That's so key, because we can be like, oh, I'm not doing the practice right. I'm resisting. I need to do this right. How am I going to recover if I don't do the work? And all of that is important, to do the work and try to accept. But that includes accepting the part of you that's afraid, the part of you that's fighting this, the part of you that doesn't want to let go, the part of you that doesn't want to do the work. You do the work, but then you accept that, oh, okay, look, there's fear, there's resistance, there's guilt, there's whatever. That's okay, that can be here right now. And you just keep coming back to that. It's okay, this can be here right now. And then obviously there's other practices that are helpful as well. Like I recommend the mindfulness, concentration, meditations, because that can help you to become more aware and less identified with thoughts. But the heart of it really is just compassion for what is here and knowing that it's okay. And then how this applied when I would go out and increase my activity, you know, maybe something would come on and it's okay, this can be here. This can be here. I accept this. I'm safe. I'm okay. This is okay. This is welcome. There's no need to fight this. But I could do that because I spent time working with what came up. And again, I wasn't perfect with it. It was up and down, and it will go how it needs to go. But just trust. Trust your body, trust yourself, trust whatever it is you need to trust. But yeah, you've got this. And just remember, whatever comes up, if you meet it with love and compassion, you can't go wrong. Whatever comes up, whatever. Okay. Good luck.